So the podcast, how did you come up with the idea? Or was it your idea, or was it one of your team's idea?
No, it was. We were just. I was talking with the producer. The team is actually just two of us,
Mm.
but
Who's the
we were
producer?
talking. We were talking in a pub,
Mm.
and said, "Wouldn't it be so much nicer if you could just have conversations with people in the pub instead of in this artificial mode of confrontation, which is always what happens in electronic interviews?" So that was where the idea came from.
Mm.
And so we just decided we would, of course, inevitably, you're not going to, by and large, have a drink with people you don't like. People you're interested in, I think.
Mm. And so was the idea at the time when you came up with it to actually do the interviews in the pub?
Yes.
Yeah, and then
we got about 2 or 3 of them done that way, and then we had to do it remotely.
Right. What kind of pubs did you go in? Did you have to find a kind of quiet area to do it in, or would you?
No, most pubs have got a quietish room. It depends upon when you go, of course. If you go at the busiest time, rush hour time, you're going to find it very distracting.
Yeah.
But no, it's dead easy to find a quiet corner.
Mm. And so you did 3 in a pub, and then since then you've had to do it over Zoom. Have you done it over, or?
Well, we've done it over Zoom. We've done it. We tend to record at each end and then just edit them together.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
But we talk over Zoom.
Yes, yeah. And how's that been? Have you had many technical issues or anything?
No, not particularly. Some, but nothing serious. And the problem is the sound quality on Zoom is so bad most of the time.
Yes, it can be. Yeah. So you do the local recordings on either end and
yes,
patch them together. Yeah. Do you still have a drink with while you're doing the podcast, or do you?
Quite often, yes. Although right now it's a cup of tea, I'm afraid.
What do you drink? Do you have beer or wine or
beer?
You have a favorite beer?
Yes.
What is it?
Oh, whichever is the guest ale usually.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So see what that's like.
Okay. So there are only 2 of you. Who is the producer?
A chap called James Bray.
And how do you know him?
We used to work together on Newsnight years ago.
Yeah. And so it's just the 2 of you behind the podcast, and that's everything. Do you get any outside help for? I noticed it's on Twitter. You've got a Twitter account for the podcast. Do you get outside people to help with that, or is it just the 2 of you doing absolutely everything?
Just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
And there's a cleanliness about that, and an honesty about it. I think I like that.
Yeah.
The other thing I like about it is it's a different sort of interview. I have spent most of my life doing interviews with people, who are transparently lying, and there's no point in that. You've got to establish control right at the start of the interview, and that means inevitably it's a tussle. And if you don't want to do that sort of discussion any longer, I don't. I'm much more interested in exploring ideas with people.
Yeah. And so I've listened to 3 or 4 of episodes so far. And
not compulsory, don't worry.
The Brian Cox one seems to be the one where you came closest to confrontation.
It wasn't really a confrontation. I know Brian. Sorry about the cut on my forehead. I fell over on the ice the other day.
Oh.
It had a lot of blood.
Yeah,
but no, I wouldn't have said that was really a confrontation.
No, to be honest,
there was a sort of a free and frank exchange of views.
Yeah, the problem is I read about it in the Times or the Telegraph, I think, before I listened to it, and when I came to it, I thought, well, that's not quite the confrontation that it was billed to be.
No, that's right. But that's so often the case with the way things are billed, isn't it?
Yeah, often. When you're using Zoom, do you use the touch up my appearance setting to interview people?
Do you think I should?
I think you should. Yeah, well, I do. You're not actually seeing me, you're seeing a touched up version of me.
Really? That's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. No, I didn't know you could do that. You can get yourself touched up.
Yeah, it's only very minor, but I think it kind of gets rid of a few wrinkles. Maybe it would get rid of your cut. Maybe I don't
It
know.
might do, yeah.
So I wondered why you are doing it, just the two of you, and because obviously one of the big podcasts of last year was Louis Theroux's. He's done that with the BBC. Did you try and do yours with the BBC, or were you?
No, I didn't. I didn't even think about it. I think there's too much baggage there, really. No, I do it with Acast. Or the other big providers.
Yeah. Is it a money maker for you? Are you making much money from it, or do you expect to in the future?
No, I don't. No, I'm not. In fact, come to think of it, I don't think I've had any money from it.
Yeah. So you're just doing it for fun?
There may be some somewhere, but it's not come my way.
So you're just doing it for fun?
Yeah, that's the only reason to do anything, I think.
Yeah. Is that why you've done? Has that been one of your guiding principles throughout your career?
I don't think it's just that. I think you do things that seem interesting at the time, and obviously, you know, I'm an old geezer now. I'm 70, and podcasting is a new form of broadcasting. So it was new to me, and it was novelty, and it seemed interesting to try to learn about it. What I have learned is that people like you to be to put in more of yourself than is the case in most dreary old broadcast interviews.
Yeah.
But so everyone is, you know, they're so ramrod straight, and they've got a poker up their bum. And they don't express a point of view, and you should express a point of view, I think. I can understand why it would have been impossible and illegitimate for me to express my political point of view when I was doing it on the BBC. But you know, one does have one, and one might as well just get on with in a conversation which people seek by invitation. And you might as well just be honest in it, I think. So I don't like that.
So your personal bits are you talk about your dog quite a fair bit?
Do I?
Oh, I'd say so. Maybe that's just the episodes I've listened to, but I've certainly heard a few references to Derek.
Oh, you know his name? I'm very impressed. That dog is well known.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do. It's not just that. It's also, you know, you're free to say ministers are twerps if you want to. You're free to say, you know, I don't believe in that. We had David Runciman on the other day, and he was talking about lowering the voting age so children could vote. I think we all should raise the voting age, and we should make people pass a test before they vote.
Yeah.
The problem is that our fate is in the hands of idiots. Yeah. I don't want it to be in the hands of childish idiots too.
How did you come up with the name Derek for your dog? Seems like quite an unusual dog name.
I just thought it was funny. My kids used to have a rule that all dogs had to have names beginning with D and be 2 syllables. And cats they had to begin with C and were 2 syllables. So we had a cat called Colin at one point. But I don't know. He's a Derek.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, Derek the dog. I just think it certainly works. Just since you mentioned bringing a bit more of the personal side of things to your podcast, as part of my research for this, I read previous interviews you've done with Janice Turner and others, and they all mentioned that you won't tolerate questions about your personal family life. Is that something that you do you ask people when you're interviewing them? Do you ask people those sorts of questions, or do you try?
No, I don't.
And why is that?
Because I think it's, you know, you can learn a great. H.L. Mencken said that you learn much more about a man by how he leads his personal life than by any speech he makes, which is probably written for him anyway. I don't share that view. I think that people are, if people put themselves up there, they put themselves up there to talk about something in particular. And I'm not interested in whether they beat their wives or not. I hope not.
Yeah, yeah. Have you always stuck with that, or have there been in your deepest past, through the years at Newsnight or before then, did you ever? I mean, did you experiment with that sort of interviewing technique ever? Hello, Jeremy. I can just about hear you now, but you've frozen on the screen.